Hi Year 10, Mr. Tapley here for your next lesson of Year 10 Geography. This lesson, we are looking at developing our understanding of climates around the world and how they impact human well-being. Human well-being is basically anything impacting our health and happiness. So we've learned about how environments are important, but before we get into climate change, we should probably look at what are climates. So basically, the weather, the rainfall, the temperature in the region can really impact your health and happiness. So this lesson is really about connecting our two major areas of study. In term 4, we look at human geography, so what's impacting humans. In term 3, we're looking at environmental geography. So the success criteria is to identify how the climate around the world is connected or interconnected between human population, human well-being, and their location on the map, basically. So why have the modern cities like Melbourne, Sydney, why have major cities around the world settled down where they are? Why is the population impacted by the climate? Damn it. Hi Year 10, Mr. Tapley here for your next lesson of Year 10 Geography. This lesson we are looking at developing our understanding of climates around the world and how they impact our human well-being. Our success criteria is to identify world climates and explain the interconnection between location, population, and climate. So our two major areas of study in Year 10 Geography are, and in term 3 we look at environmental geography, but in term 4 we look at human well-being. So we look at the health and happiness of humans around the world, and really what this lesson is kind of the bridge between those two areas of study. So we're looking at how the climate, how the weather, rainfall, temperature of a region can impact our health and happiness. So instead of looking at environmental change, where humans are messing up the environment, now we're looking at how the environment is impacting humans. So a few people can get climate and weather confused. So weather is basically what's happening outside your window on Monday or on Tuesday, but climate refers to the long-term weather patterns of a region. So the temperature, the rainfall, the winds from January to December. Climate affects the environment's ability to sustain life and greatly impacts human well-being. If I drop you in the middle of the desert where there's no rainfall, that's going to impact your health and your happiness. It's going to impact the environment's ability to create life. There's not going to be much plant life or animal life, which means there's not going to be much food for the human life. If you look at a map of the world, the most populated cities and regions were settled hundreds or thousands of years ago because of their climate. So in Year 7 Humanities, we're looking at ancient history at the moment. So looking at ancient Greece, Rome, China, and all those major cities like ancient Athens, ancient Rome, ancient Beijing. Sorry, I couldn't think of any cities for a moment. All those cities were formed basically because of the climate. So they found a good region of the map of their country, and they said, all right, the temperature is good, there's lots of rain, which means that farmers can provide us with food, and then that's impacted our lives thousands of years later because that's where they settled their cities. So that's the impact of climate on us. Now, the current world population is approximately 7.8 billion and increasing around 81 million per year. What is that going to do to our human well-being? This population increase forces people to live in what we call marginal climate regions. So in the past, in ancient history, we could just settle wherever we wanted to. So we would pick the best of the best places to live. Places that would give us very high well-being because the temperature was nice, there was enough rain. But now that the world's getting a bit too crowded, we have to live in these regions of the world called marginal climate regions, where it was previously considered unsuitable for farming and settlement. So before we thought, I'm never going to live there, that place is trash, not enough water, the temperature's too hot, too cold, don't like it. But now we don't have a choice. We're being pushed to the edges of the map, and now it's like, all right, that will do. The garbage will do. We have developed technology and advanced farming practices, such as irrigation, which will support human life in these harsh climates. However, consider the impact that would have on your human well-being. If, again, I pop you in the middle of the desert, and I give you a bottle of water, you can live there, but you're still going to have a pretty crap life. And what would happen if climate change made other regions of the world unsuitable for human life? So we saw in climate change, what was the movie called? Before the Flood, that documentary you watched at the start of the unit. We saw that climate change will eventually make many other regions of the world unsuitable for human life. So it's going to mess with the weather, it's going to mess with the temperature of places. And if that happens more and more places around the world, more and more people will be impacted. So it might change the climate of Melbourne so that all this lovely rain we're having this week, we might actually enjoy seeing rain in the future. Now, the differences in human well-being around the world can be connected to the availability of natural resources provided by the environment. So clean air, water, food, land that you can farm on, etc., etc. All those resources in terms of their quality, so how good they are, and the quantity, so how much you get, all of those things are impacted by the climate. Changes or variances in rainfall, temperature, the soil will create unequal levels of water and food security around the world. In some places, land degradation and exploitation of resources have created water and food shortages for millions of people. So that's already occurring. And this is before we get to climate change, our next big topic. So imagine what the world would look like 10, 20, 50 years later if more and more places around the world look not like this, but like this. So that's all I'm going to tell you guys about climate and well-being. The rest of you have to read yourself in chapter 4 of your textbook, which again has been uploaded to Compass and Google Classroom. So all you're doing is reading through pages 178 to 179 and completing questions 1 to 3. So I'll show you where that is, what that looks like. So environmental factors and well-being. You're going to be using that map as part of the questions, but I've also put the map in the slides. So if I go back to the slides, you can see I've got two little maps of India on the next slide. So source 4.6 is a map of the environmental factors impacting food production in India. So the different colors are things that impact food production. So this light green color, it's too mountainous. There's too many steep, tall mountains in the area, so you can't grow food. In this pink area, pinkish purple, there's not enough good land to grow food. So the land is severely degraded. It's crap. You can't grow food there. And then on the left here, we have a map of HDI for the different states in India. So HDI stands for Human Development Index. And what that means basically is the human well-being of the region, so the health and happiness. So the higher the human well-being, the better their life is. So these dark green areas like Kerala and, well, I'm not going to pronounce that one, they have high human well-being, whereas in these kind of orangey ones in the middle here, very low human well-being. But I'll get to that when we get to question 3. So 3 questions for this lesson. Question 1, which natural resources are important in providing food and water security? So basically, what do you need to have food and water in your region? So that's going to be related to the environment and climate, obviously. Question 2, how does the uneven or unequal distribution of resources, so not everyone has enough, not everyone has the same level of food and water, how does this explain the differences or the variations in human well-being? So is there a connection between how much food and water I have and how much food and water the person next to me has, and are different levels of health and happiness? And question 3, what you're doing is comparing these 2 maps of India. So using those 2 maps, can you find evidence that certain environmental restrictions or limitations or constraints on food production, things like the land quality, the amount of rainfall you get in the region, can you find evidence that those factors, environmental factors, have led to lower levels of human development, so lower levels of human well-being? Use specific names in your answer. So when you get these compare questions, what you really need to do is find the highs and the lows. So in this part of India, so in Kerala, we can see that they've got very high human well-being. And then using this map, I can see coincidentally that in this region of India, high crop production. So you can grow a lot of food in that part. So that's impacting obviously the amount of resources they have, and it's impacting their health and happiness. So what you should try and do, look for some of these low regions in India in the middle, Madhya Pradesh, let's say, and see if you can find some environmental factors that are impacting it. So basically, high and low human well-being in India, can you find evidence that it's being impacted by environmental factors? And make sure you're using specific names. Don't say the middle-y part of India. Say, not that one, that's hard to pronounce. Say Gujarat or West Bengal, etc., etc. So 3 questions, guys. Smashing those into your digital notebook. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. Otherwise, best of luck. Hope you're well, and cheers.